Great. So welcome back to grade 7 math. We are now on chapter 9.5, which is adding and subtractions fractions mathematically. So we looked at how to use models for these types of problems, but now we're just going to look at the math and see if we can solve them using the math, which is really what we've been doing already. But now we're just going to be removing the models. So now we'll solve these problems without using the models. So here are two examples: add 2/5 and 4/9, and the subtraction is 9/12 minus 2/4. So let's start with the first one and let's look at our steps. Find the lowest common multiple between the two denominators, which means we're going to be looking for the lowest common denominator. That means this is the number that both the denominators can go into. So it's a multiple of both the denominators. As you recall, the denominators is the bottom number, and this tells you the number of divisions or the size of each piece. So the higher the number, the more the number of pieces of that whole, so which means the smaller pieces for that particular model. And then what we do is we want to find an equivalent fraction that uses that same number. And then we rewrite the equation using equivalent fractions, and then we add them as normal. So let's look at our first example. We are adding 2/5 plus 4/9. So let's just move a little bit down here. Great, so 2/5 plus 4/9, what we're going to look for is a common denominator, and the common denominator of 5 and 9. If we can't figure out a number, we can always just do 5 times 9. So the LCD in this case will be 5 times 9, and see if we can reduce that. 5 times 9 is 45. And that's not an even number odd that we can divide by 2. These are both, the 5 is a prime number, and 9 has factors of 3, so you can't really reduce that anymore. So our lowest common denominator will be 45. So let's change 2/5 over into something with a common denominator of 45. And the way we do this is that we multiply the denominator by 9. That means we multiply the numerator by 9. So 2 times 9 is 18. Likewise, I do the same for 4/9, and I need a common denominator of 45. So in this case, I need to multiply my denominator by 5, which means I have to multiply my numerator also by 5. And 4 times 5 equals 20. So now I rewrite this equation, or this question, using equivalent fractions. So 2/5 is the same as 18 over 45, and 4/9 is the same as 20 over 45. Now remember, the 45 tells me the number of pieces in total of the whole amount. So how many divisions we have. So I have a chocolate bar that's divided into 45 little pieces, and I have 18 of those 45 pieces plus 20 of those 45th pieces. The actual size of the piece doesn't change. So I still have 45th pieces, which means this is the size of each piece. But the number of each pieces, so I have 18 in the first one plus 20 equals 38 total pieces. Now, step 5 is to reduce and convert. Well, if I look at this and see if there's any numbers that can go into 38 and 45, 45, my factors are 1, 3, 5, 9, 15, etc. And 38 has none of those factors, so I can't reduce anymore. So 38 over 45 is my final answer. Let's look at 9/12 and 2/4. So step 1 is we look for a lowest common denominator. So the lowest common denominator is a number that both of these numbers can go into. Well, I could do 12 times 4, and 12 times 4 would be 48. But if I go through the multiples, I see that 12 is already a multiple of 4, so I don't need to try anything else higher than 12. So 4 goes into 12, my lowest common denominator will already be 12. So this means that 9/12 will stay as 9/12. I don't need to do anything, so that's great. My 2/4, I do need to convert to a denominator that's over 12. So I look at my denominator, I need to multiply this by 3, and I do the same with my numerator, 2 times 3, and I get that my numerator is 6. If I can also rethink about this, and I see that 2/4 is the same as a half, really, that means 6/12 is also a half as well. that keeps disappearing on me. Great. So now that I have denominators that are both the same, now I can add them together. So my 9/12 stays as, subtract them. My 9/12 stays as 9/12s. This is my step 3. I'm now rewriting it. 2/4 is the same as 6/12. I'm not sure why it doesn't like that. And now I subtract the 2. And the 12 pieces stay the same, so those are 12 pieces. It's my numerators. I have 9 of them minus 6 is 3/12. And so that's my step 4. And my step 5 is to reduce and convert to a mixed fraction. So can I reduce 3 over 12? Well, I look at my factors of 12 and I see that 3 is one of them. So that means I can divide my top and bottom by 3. So let's just start this on a new line. 3 divided by 12, I can divide both the numerator and denominators by 3. So that means 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So my answer is 1/4. Great. So just let's review the steps. Step 1 is to find the lowest common denominator. If you don't find the lowest right away, that's okay, because we can always reduce later on. So in this case, we just multiply the numbers. 5 times 9 is 45. Or I could just use one of the numbers and see if both of them will work. Step 2 is to find equivalent fractions. So to find the multiples to find the equivalent fractions. So in this case, it was 2 times 9, and 5 times 9 gives the same equation fraction. And the other one was 4 times 5, and the denominator was 9 times 5. Remember, whatever I multiply the denominator by, I need to multiply the numerator by, just because it's keeping it equivalent. Step 3 was to rewrite it. So we rewrote both problems already, the equations. Step 4 is to add as normal or to subtract as normal. So remember, I keep the denominators the same, and I add or subtract the numerators. And the last step, step 5, is to reduce and convert to a mixed fraction if I need to. So in this case, there's no reducing in example 1, and there is reducing in example 2. So what we're going to do is we'll try a couple of examples in class, or you can try these beforehand. So you can pause the video now, and I'll give you the answers right afterwards, and then we'll go over some more problems in class. So hopefully you understood this lesson.